You've felt it in your bones long before the words ever reached your ears. You've sensed it in the quiet places, in the spaces in between breaths, between thoughts, between all the moments when life seemed to stand still and whisper something sacred into your soul. You've been catching glimpses of this message, not in loud proclamations, but in the soft, mysterious language of the divine. Repeating numbers that follow you like a silent guide. Patterns too precise to be coincidence. Dreams too vivid to forget. Conversations that echo something deeper, stirring a knowing that refuses to be ignored. And all of it has been pointing to this. Something massive is unfolding, and it has your name written across it in invisible ink. You are not mistaken. You are not delusional. This is your confirmation, clearer than ever before. This is not a random message you've stumbled across. This is sacred timing. This is divine alignment. This is the universe's final alert. Heaven's reminder, Spirit's trumpet, sounding softly at first, then louder now, as you near the threshold of your awakening. Because you're not watching this for entertainment. You're not reading these words for curiosity. You're here because your soul led you here, because something inside you is ready, finally, deeply, irreversibly ready. You've reached the edge of the old life, the edge of the former identity, the edge of the version of you that carried the pain but couldn't yet understand its purpose. That edge isn't a stopping point. It's a beginning. It's a doorway, a sacred gate. You are standing at the threshold of a breakthrough that's been orchestrated across timelines. A divine inheritance is unfolding, and it's not something you chase. It's something you remember. It's something that was always yours, hidden until the appointed time. And this, beloved, is the appointed time. The universe has not been still. It has been shifting, rearranging pieces behind the scenes, moving people out, pulling energies away, closing doors with a force that felt cruel in the moment, but was actually divine protection. All of it, the silence, the isolation, the strange inner detachment, was not a mistake. It was preparation. You've been prepared in private for a public revelation. You've been trained not with textbooks or applause, but with storms and stillness. The curtain is lifting now, and what's about to be revealed isn't just a new chapter, it's a new destiny. You were never meant to live an average life. You were never sent here to simply get by. The visions you've had, the longings that wouldn't go away, the restless sense that you were made for more, those weren't illusions, they were invitations. And now the invitation has become a call, a divine call, one that doesn't speak to your ego, but to your essence. This isn't about becoming famous. This is about becoming true. The life you glimpsed in rare moments of hope, that life where you felt seen, known, fulfilled, aligned, that life is no longer a vision in the distance. It's pulling closer, but it demands something holy from you, your awareness, your presence, your willingness to say yes, even if you don't yet know how, because you are next. You've always been next, not because of luck, not because someone chose to give you a break, but because your soul said yes before you arrived here, because your preparation has been sacred, because your pain had a purpose, and because heaven doesn't choose the strongest, it chooses the willing. You've been chosen, and that choice came with pressure, with fire, with tests that shattered illusions and revealed your essence. You've survived dark nights that no one else knew about. You've cried prayers into pillows and got up the next morning with quiet resilience, and the divine saw all of it. Not one moment was wasted, not one tear ignored. And now the reward is coming, not in fragments, not in small doses, but in full, in waves, in overflow. Because what's coming is not just restoration, it's resurrection. It's not a return to who you were, but a rebirth into who you were always meant to become. You didn't walk through fire just to go back to normal. You endured so you could rise. You were tempered, not tormented, refined, not ruined. Every unanswered prayer, every delay, every closed door wasn't rejection. It was redirection. It was grace disguised as silence. It was mercy in camouflage. The universe knew what you didn't, that had you received it too soon, it would have crumbled in your hands. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. And now, everything that once hurt you is becoming the soil for your harvest. The storm wasn't the end. It was the turning point. And even as the thunder rolled and the winds tore through your soul, something sacred was happening beneath the surface. Your roots were growing deeper. Your awareness was sharpening. You stopped chasing people who couldn't see you and started seeing yourself. You stopped asking for validation from the world and began listening to the whisper within. And now, that whisper has become a roar. Your inner knowing is no longer quiet. It's no longer asking for permission. It's declaring truth. And that truth is this: you are not here to fit in. You are not here to conform. You are here to awaken. You are here to disturb the silence with light, to carry healing through your presence, to walk into spaces and shift the atmosphere, not by force, but by frequency. And people may not understand it. They may look at you and not see what you carry. That's okay. They're not meant to see it until the appointed time, because the chosen are often hidden before they are revealed. Your hidden seasons weren't punishment, they were preservation. You were protected from places that could not hold the weight of your purpose. You were hidden so that when you emerged, nothing could pull you back into smallness. You were being prepared to hold light without arrogance, to carry power without corruption, to walk in truth even when it's inconvenient. And now everything is aligning. The old is falling away, not because you're losing, but because you're outgrowing. What once satisfied now feels empty. What once excited now feels distant. You're shedding layers of identity that were never yours to keep. And yes, it's confusing. Yes, it's disorienting. But that's what rebirth feels like chaos, like loss, like everything is dissolving. But in reality, everything is being reordered. You are not breaking down. You are breaking open. And in that opening, the divine is pouring in a new frequency, a new mission, a new anointing, one that was always yours but needed space to land. And now that space is clear. That altar is ready, and heaven is pouring out not just blessings but assignments, not just comfort but calling, not just ease but evolution. This next season is not about striving, it's about surrender. Not about proving, it's about becoming. Not about hustling, it's about harmonizing with the higher rhythm that's been playing beneath your pain all along. And as you surrender, as you stop clinging to what no longer fits, you begin to feel the current, a sacred current that's been carrying you all along, even when it felt like you were drifting. You begin to realize that you are never alone in the silence, that even in your lowest valleys, even when no one called, no one texted, no one understood, you were surrounded by the unseen, by angels keeping watch, by ancestors praying on your behalf, by a divine intelligence that never once let you fall too far. Every breakdown was bordered by grace. every failure caught by unseen hands. And now the truth rises with clarity. The delay was not denial, it was divine design. There were things inside you that needed time to mature, old wounds that needed healing, ego patterns that had to crumble. And through that sacred unraveling, you became more whole, not polished, not perfect, but real, anchored, unshakable. And now, what's coming for you is not a result of effort. It's a result of alignment. You're no longer chasing, you're attracting. You're no longer begging, you're embodying. You've stepped into the knowing of your worth, and the universe responds not to noise, but to knowing. It doesn't obey fear, it obeys faith, quiet, steady, unapologetic faith. And yours has grown, even when you couldn't feel it. Your faith has been built in secret places, under pressure, in the depths of heartbreak and confusion. And now that faith is your fuel. You're being positioned for things that don't make sense to the mind, but are crystal clear to the spirit. Doors are about to open that you didn't knock on. People are about to show up who speak your soul's language. Resources are about to appear exactly when you need them. Not a moment too soon, not a second too late. Because divine timing is never early, never rushed, it is precise. And now the hour has come. The atmosphere is shifting, heaven is moving. Your name is being spoken in rooms you've never entered. Your energy is being felt by people you've never met. Because the divine doesn't work in straight lines, it works in waves, in spirals, in sacred geometry that transcends logic. And your life, your destiny, is part of that design. You don't need to force your place anymore. You are the place. You are the space where miracles unfold. You are the vessel chosen to carry something rare into a world that's forgotten its own soul. And that's why your journey was never about comfort. It was about capacity. You were stretched so you could hold more, emptied so you could be filled, humbled so you could carry heaven without turning it into ego. And now all of that stretching is about to make sense. Because the space inside you is now a sanctuary, a home for wisdom, a harbor for peace, a channel for divine flow. You no longer need to push. The river is already flowing, and your only job is to trust its course. Trust that you're not late, not behind, not lost. You are exactly where you need to be, because who you are becoming is no accident. It is the fulfillment of a divine promise written long before you were born. You are the evidence of ancient prayers, the continuation of a sacred lineage. And your awakening is not just personal, it's ancestral, it's generational. You are breaking what they couldn't. You are healing what they were too wounded to name. You are the redemption they dreamed of but never saw. And now, all of heaven is cheering. Not because you're perfect, but because you finally remembered who you are. And now that you've remembered, everything is shifting. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You see differently now. You feel truth in places where there used to be noise. You don't need to be convinced anymore. You've become the confirmation you were waiting for. And though some days you still question your strength, your direction, your timing, something within you has changed permanently. There's a stillness inside you now, a deep, unwavering calm that cannot be shaken by surface storms. Because you know now that storms don't come to destroy, they come to clear, to cleanse, to carve open new rivers where old patterns once blocked your flow. And you, chosen one, have walked through the storm. You've danced in the thunder. You've stood in the wreckage and found beauty where others saw only brokenness. That's why the divine trusts you with more. Because you've proven that your heart can stay soft even when the world was cruel, that your soul can stay open even when life tried to shut it down. You've carried love through places that lacked it. You've offered kindness even when none was returned. And in doing so, you've become a mirror for the divine, a living reflection of grace under pressure. But this isn't the end of your trials, nor is it a reward for good behavior. This is transformation. This is transcendence. This is you stepping into your highest frequency, not because life became easier, but because you finally became the version of yourself who no longer fears the fire. You understand it now. You see that everything, even the betrayal, even the loss, even the nights that broke you, was part of your resurrection. Pain was your initiation. Suffering was your alchemy. And you didn't just survive it, you turned it into light. That's what makes you unstoppable now. Not your plans, not your perfection, but your presence. You radiate something different, something unteachable. It's what people feel before they hear you speak. It's what shifts the energy in a room when you walk in. And they won't always know why. They may not even know how to name it, but they will feel it, because your presence isn't just human anymore. It's holy, it's encoded with healing, it's rippled with revelation, it's soaked in silence that speaks louder than words. You carry within you the wisdom of lifetimes, the grace of those who came before, and the fire of those yet to come. And now, that fire is rising, not to burn down what's around you, but to illuminate what's within you. The fire is no longer the thing you fear, it's the thing you are. You are a flame that cannot be put out, a soul that cannot be silenced, a force that cannot be boxed in. And as you rise, you begin to see clearly, not everyone can go where you're going. Some connections will dissolve, some spaces will feel too small, and though it may ache, you'll let go with peace, because you finally know what it means to honor your energy, to protect your purpose, to pour from overflow instead of emptiness. You no longer give yourself away to be loved. You radiate love and let it find you. You no longer chase meaning in titles and outcomes. You carry meaning in every breath you take, because you know now, you are the miracle, you are the proof, you are the divine fortune. And while the world is still searching for signs in the clouds, you've realized the sign has always been you. Because once you recognize that the sign has always been you, something profound happens. You stop waiting. You stop looking for permission, for external approval, for someone to tell you it's your time. You simply begin. You step forward, not with certainty of the outcome, but with the certainty of your alignment. You realize that you are no longer trying to become something, you are remembering something. You're remembering that long before the fear, the trauma, the confusion, there was a version of you that was whole, undamaged, unafraid, divine. And that version is not a dream, it's your foundation. It's the essence that pain couldn't erase. It's the soul self that has been watching patiently as you navigated detours and heartbreak and illusions that told you you weren't enough. But now the illusions are dissolving. The veil is lifting. The lies are breaking off. And what's being revealed isn't something new. It's something ancient, something eternal. It's the truth of who you've always been beneath the noise. And as you rise into that truth, the world around you responds, not because the world has changed, but because your vibration has. You are no longer on the frequency of fear. You've upgraded to the frequency of faith. You've stepped into divine alignment, and in that alignment, The impossible becomes inevitable. What once required force now flows. What once required hustle now happens in harmony. What once felt distant now feels destined. Because the moment you step into the fullness of your being, the entire universe conspires to support you. Doors open that logic can't explain. Timing unfolds with precision no calendar could predict. People appear, not to complete you, but to reflect you. They carry the energy of home, of resonance, of shared mission, and you begin to see clearly that nothing was ever wasted. Not the delay, not the heartbreak, not the failure, not even the years you thought you lost. All of it was soil, all of it was sacred ground. And now the seeds you planted in pain are blooming in power, because that's what the divine does. It turns mourning into meaning. It takes your lowest points and makes them launching pads. It uses your story as a torch to light the path for others still lost in the dark. That's why you couldn't skip the pain. That's why your process had to be so deep, so personal, so crushing. Because what you carry now isn't surface wisdom. It's embodied, it's lived, it's anchored in the fire you survived. And that fire gave you vision, not just eyesight, but soul sight. The ability to see what others miss, to feel what others avoid, to know what others doubt. You became a vessel through the breaking, and now you're full of clarity, full of light, full of purpose, and that fullness cannot be hidden anymore. It leaks into everything you touch. It shapes your presence, your decisions, your boundaries. It teaches you to walk away when peace is no longer present. It reminds you that alignment is worth more than attention, that calling is deeper than comfort, that purpose is louder than praise. And as you live from this place, this sacred place, everything begins to shift. Not because you finally got it all together, but because you finally surrendered. You let go of the false self. You laid down the mask. You stopped chasing and started becoming. And now you're not just on the path. You are the path. You're not just moving in purpose. You are the purpose. Your life is the message. Your survival is the testimony. Your glow is the prophecy fulfilled. And now that your glow has been activated, not from ego, but from essence, it's no longer something you wear, it's something you are. It's not about being seen by many, it's about being felt by the few who matter. Because this next chapter of your life is not about validation, it's about vibration. You're no longer trying to prove yourself to people who never had the capacity to understand you. You're no longer trying to translate your truth into languages that were never meant to hold your frequency. Instead, you're speaking in energy now. And that energy carries weight, it carries legacy, because when you rise, it's not just about you, it's about the ones watching. The quiet ones, the broken ones, the ones who haven't yet found the words for what they've survived. Your rise becomes their roadmap. Your healing becomes their hope. Your courage becomes their confirmation. And that is why your journey had to be so heavy, so you could become light. That's why you had to lose what you thought you needed, so you could receive what was always meant. That's why your inner world had to collapse, so it could be rebuilt not by fear, but by faith. And now every brick of your being is soaked in meaning. Your voice carries thunder now, even when you whisper. Your presence brings calm now, even in chaos, because you have become something sacred, something rare, not someone who has all the answers, but someone who lives the questions with grace, someone who has faced the dark without closing their heart, someone who walks with the divine, not above others, but among them. You've become a lighthouse in a stormy world, not because you never doubted, but because you kept showing up anyway. You kept breathing through the panic, kept hoping through the heartbreak, kept walking through the wilderness even when your feet bled from the journey. And that kind of faith, the silent, persistent, invisible kind, that's what shifts realities. You're not the same anymore, and that's not a loss, it's a gain. You've outgrown your former self. You've expanded beyond the limits others placed on you. You've burned the old blueprint, and now you're living without a map. Not because you're lost, but because you're finally being led. Every step now is sacred. Every moment now is meaningful. And you've learned to listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. You notice what others miss. You feel what others can't name. You are no longer asleep. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer bound by what was. You are in motion, in alignment, in divine flow. And though others may not understand the shifts you're making, they are necessary. The pruning is necessary. The solitude is necessary, because this is not a season of decoration. It is a season of devotion, not to a person, not to an outcome, but to your soul, to your calling, to your truth. And as you continue to walk this path with reverence and remembrance, the world around you bends, not because you forced it, but because heaven always makes room for the one who remembers who they are. And now that you remember, everything looks different, even the pain. You begin to see that the very things that once shattered you were secretly shaping you, that the betrayal wasn't your breaking, it was your blessing in disguise, that the abandonment wasn't your curse, it was your clearing. Because some people couldn't walk with you where you were going, not because they were bad, but because they were no longer aligned. The divine will not allow who you were to survive where you're headed, and so it removed what you clung to, not to hurt you, but to heal you, to free your hands, to release your heart. And now, standing in this in-between space, between what was and what will be, you can feel it, the pressure building, the air changing, the energy rumbling just beneath the surface like the hush before a holy storm. This is the final test, the last stretch of the old cycle, and the enemy senses it too. That's why everything seems to be attacking at once. That's why old wounds are trying to reopen. That's why doubt is whispering louder than usual, because the closer you are to breakthrough, the louder the resistance becomes. But hear this, and know it deep in your bones. You weren't built to break. You weren't chosen to quit. You didn't come this far just to fall apart now. You didn't survive all those sleepless nights, unanswered prayers, and sacred battles just to back down at the threshold. You are the storm now. You are the light in the middle of it. You are the calm that radiates even when everything outside you shakes. And you can stand tall, not because it's easy, but because you were forged in the fire that would have consumed anyone else. You carry wisdom now, not learned from books, but earned from battle. You carry discernment now, not just intuition, but divine sight. You see through smiles now. You feel truth now. You know peace by how quiet your spirit becomes in its presence. And you no longer apologize for it, because this frequency, this alignment, this sacred stance, it cost you everything false, and it gave you everything real. You are now living proof that purpose can rise from pain, that clarity can be born from chaos, that joy can emerge from the ashes of sorrow. You walk differently now. You move with reverence. You speak with intention, you choose with alignment, and you no longer chase what you know isn't yours. You're not desperate, you're discerning. You're not seeking outside yourself, you're resting inside your truth. And in that stillness, everything finds you. What's meant for you cannot be lost. It will circle back. It will knock gently. It will recognize your frequency and return in divine time. You don't have to beg. You don't have to explain. You simply have to receive. Because what's coming is not a test. It's a reward. It's the release. It's the restoration. And not in part, in full. Not in crumbs, in overflow. This is the moment you've been prepared for. This is the hour all of heaven has been orchestrating around your yes. This is the divine fortune that isn't just material. It's molecular. It shifts your atmosphere. It reorders your relationships. It resets your timeline. Because when you align with who you really are, everything that was ever out of balance begins to move into place. And it happens without force, without striving, without chaos. Because miracles don't knock down doors. They walk through the ones that are already open. And yours is open now, wide open. And now that your door is open, what's meant for you is already on its way. Not walking, running, not drifting, being divinely delivered. Because heaven doesn't operate on human schedules. It doesn't rush to impress. It doesn't delay to punish. It aligns things in perfect time, divine time, the kind of time that frustrates the impatient but blesses the prepared. And you, beloved, are prepared. Not because everything is perfect, not because you feel ready in your mind, but because your soul has been saying yes when your mouth still whispered maybe. Because even when your hands were trembling, you still reached. Even when your heart was heavy, you still loved. Even when you felt forgotten, you still kept showing up. And that is the proof that you are ready, not flawless, not fearless, but faithful. And the divine favors the faithful, the ones who walk when they don't see the road, the ones who believe even when belief feels ridiculous, the ones who speak life even when surrounded by death. And now everything you've done in private is echoing in the heavens. Every tear, every whispered prayer, every time you walked away from something toxic even though your heart was breaking, every time you bit your tongue instead of lashing out, every time you chose healing instead of hiding, none of it was missed, none of it was wasted. You were being watched, not by the world, but by the divine, not by people, but by purpose. And now purpose has found you. It's wrapping around your life like light through a window. You can feel it, like electricity humming through your blood. You're starting to walk with an inner authority that no one gave you, but no one can take from you. Because when God appoints you, man can't unappoint you. When destiny declares it's your time, delay can't hold it back. When your soul finally aligns with its truth, the universe bends in reverence to match your vibration. This isn't about luck. This isn't random. This is sacred sequence, supernatural order. This is what happens when healing reaches a tipping point, when who you were is no longer in control, and who you really are steps forward and says, "I'm here now." The false self fades, the mask falls. The people who only knew the version of you molded by survival begin to fall away, not out of anger, but out of spiritual expiration. Because elevation brings elimination. Growth creates gravity, and those not meant to rise with you will feel the pull to leave. Don't chase, don't beg, don't shrink. You are being aligned with souls that match your healed frequency, people who meet you in truth, People who love from overflow. People who see you and don't flinch at your light. You are no longer here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to remember it, to embody it, to speak it fluently. Because when you know who you are, the world begins to mirror that back. And that's when the fortune begins, not with gold or glamour, but with peace, with inner wealth, with divine rhythm. Suddenly, the job finds you, the love honors you, the home welcomes you, the vision clears. Because you stopped striving and started surrendering. You stopped performing and started aligning. And in that alignment you became magnetic, not because you wanted attention, but because you finally came into agreement with heaven's blueprint. And when that happens, everything begins to respond. Life no longer feels like a battle. It becomes a sacred conversation, a co-creation, and you finally exhale, you finally rest. You finally receive not just things, but clarity, not just blessings, but breath, not just victories, but vision. And that vision, it's just beginning to unfold. And now that the vision is unfolding, you can feel it, can't you? That sacred tension between what is and what's becoming. It no longer scares you the way it used to, because now you understand it. You see that the discomfort is not danger, it's divine expansion. It's your soul stretching to make room for everything it prayed for. This isn't anxiety, it's awakening. This isn't loss, it's alignment. You've outgrown the old definitions, the outdated dreams, the borrowed timelines. What used to excite you no longer fits, and what used to hurt you no longer holds power. Because you're seeing through new eyes now. Eyes that no longer look for safety in predictability. Eyes that no longer settle for what merely makes sense. Your sight has shifted. You're not looking for the same things you once were. You're not trying to be who you once were, because that version of you was only the shell, the seed. But you now are the bloom, and blooming can be painful. It means breaking through layers. It means facing the sun, even when the roots still remember the dark. It means becoming visible after years of invisibility. But you are no longer hiding, not because the world is safe, but because you are strong. Not because the pain is gone, but because the purpose is louder. Louder than the fear, louder than the doubt, louder than the noise of people who still don't see you, because now you see yourself. And that vision is everything. That vision is the compass, the confirmation, the quiet fire that refuses to let you shrink again. You are walking now not just with hope, but with holy certainty. Even when you don't know what tomorrow holds, you know who you are. And that knowing changes everything. It changes how you speak. It changes what you tolerate. It changes the way you enter a room, not trying to impress, but simply to be. Because your presence has become its own message. It tells the story of survival, of surrender, of rising from your own ashes with softness still intact. You carry grace like armor now, not to protect yourself from love, but to protect love from your past. You no longer bleed on people who didn't cut you. You've made peace with the former you. You've forgiven the mistakes that shaped you, and now you bless the lessons that once bruised you. That's maturity. That's mastery. That's what it means to live healed, not perfect, not untouchable, but aware, awake, unafraid to feel deeply, love boldly, and stand fully in the sacred identity you've reclaimed. You are no longer a seeker of worth. You are the embodiment of it. And your journey, with all its wounds and wonders, has led you to this moment. Not a finish line, but a beginning. Not a peak, but a portal. You're not just moving forward, you're being carried now, by grace, by favor, by a current that flows from realms unseen but deeply known, because you've stepped into remembrance, and in remembrance there is no going back. Because once you remember, truly remember, the path beneath you begins to glow, not because it wasn't there before, but because now your eyes are tuned to see it. What once looked like coincidence now reveals itself as choreography. Every delay was a detour toward alignment. Every betrayal was a redirection toward truth. Every heartbreak was clearing space for holy love. And every moment you thought you were forgotten was actually the divine whispering, "Hold on, I'm still preparing the way." And now the way is opening, not because you forced it, but because you're finally ready to walk it with reverence. You no longer seek shortcuts. You no longer need the crowd's applause to validate your next move. You are led by something older than fear and deeper than desire. You are led by the promise your soul made before you were born, a promise to awaken, a promise to rise, a promise to remember who you really are, even in a world that would rather you forget. And that promise cannot be broken, not by time, not by failure, not by loss, because it was written in the language of eternity, and eternity doesn't forget. You are the answer to a question someone hasn't found the words to ask. You are the healing to a wound passed down through bloodlines. You are the torchbearer, the pattern breaker, the quiet warrior whose very presence rewrites the energy in a room. You didn't choose the easy path, but you chose the real one. And now everything is rising to meet you. The divine fortune is no longer ahead of you. It is within you. It's in the way your spirit steadies when things fall apart. It's in the way you smile with your eyes, knowing you carry something eternal inside. It's in the way miracles unfold now, not loudly, but constantly. Not in grand gestures, but in everyday alignment. A conversation that restores your faith, an open door with your name on it, a peace that sits in your chest like a sunrise. And that's the real fortune, to be so aligned, so whole, so certain of who you are, that nothing outside of you can sway what's been confirmed within you. The wealth is your wisdom. The treasure is your truth. The reward is your remembering. And now that you've remembered, the world around you is remembering too. It sees you. It recognizes what was once hidden, because your light no longer dims to survive. Your voice no longer shakes to be heard. Your energy no longer asks for permission. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You've realized you already were. And now, as the last veil lifts and the final echoes of who you were dissolve into the sacred silence, you arrive, not at a finish line, but at the threshold of embodiment. This is what all of it was for. Not just the blessings you imagined, but the breakthrough you couldn't have planned. Not just the victory others could see, but the quiet return to your divine self, the one who knew long before the wounds, the waiting, the wondering. You didn't just survive the storm. You became the sky. You didn't just endure the fire. You became the light. And now the world won't recognize you because of how loud you are, but because of how real you've become, how grounded your energy feels, how unwavering your presence is. You are no longer trying to be anything other than what your soul already declared, chosen, not better, not above, just aligned, chosen to remember, chosen to carry, chosen to awaken. And now that you have, everything else will follow. The divine fortune is not coming, it's already arrived. You feel it when you wake up, and peace is no longer a visitor, It's home. You feel it when your decisions are no longer made from fear, but from clarity. You feel it when you look back at the people who left, the pain that once consumed you, and you no longer ache, you exhale. Because now you understand, none of it broke you. It built you, and what it built was sacred. A life rooted in truth, a path guided by faith, a heart resilient enough to rise again and again and still choose love. And that love, it's your legacy. That light, it's your language now. That stillness inside, it's your superpower. You are walking in a frequency that no one can take from you because no one gave it to you. You earned it in the trenches. You earned it through tears. You earned it by staying true to your soul when everything around you tried to convince you to forget. And now that you've remembered, really remembered, you are free. Free from the timelines they placed on you. Free from the cages of comparison. Free from the noise of those who never saw you clearly. You are no longer asking, when will it be my turn? You know now. It's always been yours. It just took time for you to grow into the strength that could hold it. And you've grown. My God, you've grown. Look at you. Still here. Still standing. Still open. Still shining. After everything. After everyone. After all the nights no one saw. And this peace, this clarity, this power, it's not random. It's not borrowed. It's the promise fulfilled. The sacred reward, the shift that doesn't just change your life, it changes your legacy, because from this moment forward, you are no longer becoming, you are, and no force on earth, no whisper of doubt, no echo of the past can unwrite what's already been confirmed by heaven. You were born for this. You were prepared for this. You are the one. And your rise is not a question anymore. It is already written.